that the government can now rely on Lowry's vote. The irony of that should not be lost on the population, because what's playing out in the broadband is playing out in the shadow of the sale of Telecom and the whole debacle around Lowry's involvement in that. I think it's shameful, really, that they're relying on the vote of this character in Irish history who Moriarty proved was deeply involved in selectively supporting a particular bid. And I think that if we do go to an election, and we should, that we need to ensure that the legislation around the Eighth Amendment and the Abortion Act is passed. I think that's absolutely has to be a given. And I don't say that just because I'm being selective, but this was a popular poll of the people which decisively said that they want abortion legislation in this country for women. We have to get that passed. But an election...
It's due to be passed before the end of this year, is that right?
It is, indeed, okay. Yeah. I think an election is something that most of the people would welcome, because I believe people are sick and tired of the sort of a perception of cronyism and, you know, favouritism that goes on between the business class and politicians.
So you'd be happy enough for this government to continue,
even says, we're going to stop this, we're going to end it, but they actually repeat it.
Even with the support of Michael Lowry, you'd be happy enough for this government to limp on until the abortion legislation is passed, and then you think it's time?
I think we have to get the abortion legislation over the line, but it is time for this government to go.
All right, Oliver, how do you see things playing out over the next couple of weeks?
Oh, God.
No women being promoted, and Frances Fitzgerald not getting a look in, despite the fact that she has been largely exonerated by the Charlton Tribunal report. What do you make of it?
Well, part of the reshuffle, I think, is including the independents, because they kicked up and said Sean Kenny had to be given the junior position. And there might have been a possibility that they were considering Frances Fitzgerald, but they're obviously beholden to the support that they're relying on. I just go back to the Lowry issue. It is shameful that they are relying on the vote of Michael Lowry to see them through. And I think that this irony will not be lost on the people of Ireland. The Taoiseach said in Ballybor on Friday that perceptions matter. How is he missing out on the perception of this move, relying on the vote of, as I say, of Lowry? He also said that he asked Denis Naughton if he had been in the homes of any of the other CEOs involved in the bid, and Denis Naughton said he hadn't, and the Taoiseach said, therein lies the problem. So what he's illustrating there is that it is okay for government ministers to cosy up to top businessmen, to billionaires, to dine with them, to wine with them, as long as you do it with all of them. And I think that's at the heart of the problem of the way we run this country. And all of the important infrastructure and services are hived off to privatisation, like cervical check, and we see the absolute disaster that that has become, and now broadband, and in the past Telecom being sold off under, I think it was a Fianna Fáil government at the time. But we have to remember that the privatisation of important infrastructure and important services leads to disaster. These infrastructures, these services, particularly anything to do with health and women's health, should be in public hands and needs to be, this needs to be sorted. And I think that that's one of the issues that the people should be voting on.
I mean, when
in politics, it's about the system itself, and the system gravitates towards politics wedded to the business class. When would you ever see homeless people lobbying TDs in LH 2000 or in Leinster House?
We don't
fall over.
All right, I'd like to hear from James.
Young workers on zero-hour contracts lobbying TDs. It is only the rich and powerful that gain access to these parties.
James, you have called for the national broadband process procurement